it's great. Speaking of smart technology, so I heard this commercial the other day. We were listening to Spotify, and sometimes like I'll hear commercials that sound like where I just go like, oh, that's clever. Like there's this one on the radio, and it's the copy is hey, you got a hot wife? What about hot kids? Hot pets? It's really hot in the summertime here in Port City. And I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's good. And it was a window tinting company.
Oh, gotcha. Wow.
Because I was like, okay, that's a little bit, what about hot kids or pets?
Yeah.
It's like,
all right, you're crossing a line there.
Yeah. Who approved this?
Right.
No, but it was great.
That's funny.
And I remembered it. So this commercial, this was on Spotify. We're driving like on the interstate. We're going to school. And it's like a commercial for like a probiotic product. Okay. But it's written like an SNL commercial. It's like,
oh, okay.
Everyone knows that pooping is one way to happiness. And, with Garden of Life, blah, 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 stuff.
Yeah.
Garden of Life will get you healthy and pooping again. And then another voice goes, why, Susan, you're glowing. Thanks. I pooped.
Said no one in the history of ever.
I looked up in the rearview mirror at Amelia, who I could feel was watching me to see how I'd react to this commercial. Yes. And she was like, oh, it was amazing. And then she said something to me the other day. She was like, you look nice today, Daddy. And I was just like, thanks. I pooped. It was great stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I'm glad. That's progress.
Hey, look, it's memorable. And you know what? There you go. That's all you can ask for.
Exactly. So
last night, I texted y'all this, but last night it was quiet in the living room. My son's just kind of playing with his trucks. And he just, out of nowhere, he looks at us and goes, we're all about to learn about toots right now. and then proceeded to fart. Yes.
So I taught Riley thinks farts are so funny that when he can't actually fart on command to make me laugh, because he knows it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
He just goes, whoa. And I go, is that supposed to be a fart? And he's like, yeah, I farted. And I was like, why don't you go like brank? And then he goes, brank. And so we're just going brank, brank, brank back to each other. And he's going brank, brank.
Yeah, that's great.
3-year-olds are fun.
Hey, do you remember that commercial? I don't remember I think it was like Sears, and it was from the 90s when we were kids. It felt like it was on every 5 minutes, and it was like, it's another scorcher.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think we talked about that on this show like a few months ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe so. I'll call now.
Yeah.
I'll call tomorrow. You'll call now.
You call now.
I'll call now.
I'll call now.
I'll call now.
Yeah. Isn't there like an Instagram account that's just those 90s commercials, like those Corn Pops commercials? And
oh, really?
I think so.
Cool.
I think either it's specifically 90s commercials or it's like 90s nostalgia in general, and it includes those commercials. I'm pretty sure it's just the commercials. And
you know what's interesting? I was over at my parents' house. This has been a while back, but they have a bunch of VHS tapes, and in their tapes they had like stuff where we'd recorded things on TV. Like there's one in my handwriting that says Jet Jackson the movie. And I'm like, it would actually be kind of cool to look at those tapes and see what the commercials were and, like just get a glimpse of what TV programming was in the 90s.
You forget that like 90s commercials were unhinged if they were like for kids or toys.
Yeah.
I mean, the Corn Pops ones was like a freaky like body horror thing.
Yeah.
No, I gotta get my pops. No. It felt like being on drugs.
Yes. What was that? There's some sketch recently that was lampooning like the Capri Sun commercial.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm talking about?
I know the commercials for sure, where they just people just turn into liquid and fly through skate parks.
Yeah. So I guess it's from a YouTube channel called Rocket Jump. And
I've heard of Rocket Jump.
Yeah. And it's like a,
wait, is that the Freddie W?
Yeah, Freddie W.
Yeah.
And so it's like, people turning into liquid and like flying through the air.
Yeah.
But in this version, they all the liquid people land in the same spot, so the liquid comes together and it reforms as this monster, this monstrous human. Kill me!
There would be commercials that were just kind of like that. It was just like, whoa, and just like, and just like crazy energy. It was nuts.
Well, and everything was extreme.
Yeah.
Extreme Doritos. Yeah. Come get them. And it's like, some kid on a skateboard, and the skateboard's made out of Doritos. And like, can't you just see like the ad execs pitching this? Like, okay, what do we know about kids? They love extreme sports.
What if we made the board out of Doritos? Yeah.
And then he eats the board.
Oh, it's amazing. He eats the board in midair, and then he falls and breaks his leg, but he's not hungry anymore. And then
and Doritos come out of the broken bone.
Instead of blood, it's Doritos. He breaks his leg, and it's just cheese. They put him under for surgery, and the doctor hands him Doritos in a bag, crushes it up and shoves it in his IV.
I need 20 cc's of Cool Ranch. Stat.
Oh, they open his leg up. My God. And Chester, wait, that's Cheetos. I'm sorry. I screwed up the joke. Chester Cheetah comes out and he goes, and in partnership with Doritos, we've also got Cheetos baked inside living human beings. For extra
Do you remember
cheesy.
Chester Cheetah had video games?
No.
This was the most 90s thing ever. There was I think 2 Sega Genesis games where you play as Chester Cheetah.
What?
Yes.
What's the plot?
You just collect Cheetos. It's like a platformer. It's like, Sonic or Mario or whatever.
I was going to say, I'm thinking too hard, but I'm thinking like, it's like Skyrim, but with like Chester Cheetah. Like, what's the mission? What's what's one player mode?
Yes.
You go to the cheese castle.
Yeah, right. There was also, so I may be wrong on the details of this, but I may be right. So there's that. But
I'm either wrong about this or I'm right.
Those are the options. So in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, Domino's had a mascot called the Noid.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, avoid the Noid.
And the Noid had a video game. So like Domino's had a video game. I'm like, this is crazy. Like the 90s were just like off the wall.
I believe the Noid still has a float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. Does
he really?
I think so.
Wow. I saw a thing on our local Domino's. It's like a sign that has like it's the circle with the line through it, like the Ghostbusters like thing. And it has the silhouette of the Noid and it says no Noids allowed. And I'm like, what a weird thing. Like nobody knows what this is, but maybe they're bringing him back.
The only reason I even knew what the Noid was The Simpsons. There was a one reference to it in The Simpsons.
Really?
Marge mentions the Noid for some reason.
Oh, okay.
And so like I figured out what it was later, but like I'm not old enough to like know what the Noid is like directly.
Yeah, or I didn't pay attention enough. I have no idea. Like when I was a kid, all that existed, it seemed like, was Pizza Hut. Yeah. I'm sure there was a Domino's around, but like in my brain, it was just like Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut.
I think down here, Pizza Hut ruled the roost on the airwaves.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, I don't know, dude. The 90s were a crazy time. I find that I'm way more nostalgic about it than it probably deserves.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But like, there's something about those like 90s commercials that were so ridiculous. And like every 90s show was ridiculous. And like, I don't know. It's just like this attitude that the 90s had that then when the 2000s hit, they were like, we're going to be boring for a while. 9/11 happened.
I was going to say, it's probably had something to do with 9/11. I'm not sure what happened. Everyone got real bummed out in the 2000s.
Yeah. Something about a war or something. I don't know. Like a war on terror. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a war on terror, this is the Wicked episode. And I don't know. And
How does
well, because
okay.
this is just for you. The witch flies into the towers and, well, you know.
Oh no.
Yeah. No.
Are you joking or is that a real thing?
Oh, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, dude. I don't know enough.
Can you imagine if that was in Wicked? She just flies into like the wizard's
I'm just
tower.
imagining like a wizard tower
She's
and
like, now I'll show him, and she just flies the broom into the tower. Melts the steel beams with her magic.
Jeez.
All right, I can't keep any of that. Hold on. No, it didn't happen. You don't think you would have seen that like on Slash Film, like horrifying 9/11 reference and
well, I don't know,
blockbuster musical
maybe
film
maybe it
starring
flew under the
Ariana
radar.
Grande?
Oh man.
No, I say speaking of a war on terror because finding a common enemy and scapegoating and jumping to conclusions is a big theme in this movie. This surprisingly socially conscious telling of the musical. So for this episode, Amelia joined us for the review, and it's a good one. So please enjoy the Wicked episode. So I brought Amelia on here to talk about Wicked.
Yes, I'm excited. I need to hear this.
Because we saw Wicked together. We went on a daddy-daughter thing a week ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, over Thanksgiving break.
Wednesday.
And so we went to an AMC and saw Wicked. Okay.
Yeah, Nora said she saw it at the Nexus.
Well, Nora got tickets before we did, so that's what happened with Nora.
Well, how was the AMC experience?
It was okay.
Okay.
I wanted to go to Nexus for a bunch of reasons, but Nexus got booked immediately. And by the time I was looking for tickets, the only seats that were available were single. And it's like, okay, well, that's single.
Yeah, not going to work.
So, of course, AMC had plenty of seats. So it was fine. I had Amelia smuggle in a bunch of candy.
Yep, as you do.
In her purse. I don't think they check anymore or care. I think I think they've given up.
Yeah, no one fights it. They're just like, you spent money. That's fine.
We're glad you're here.
Last time I went, I brought a full T-bone steak and a baked potato.
So, yeah,
Why'd you guys smuggle things that big in?
Oh, he's joking. He didn't bring a real.
Well, you said you smuggled a steak in there.
I said I smuggled roast beef in there.
So how did you get it in there?
Smuggled it.
Where?
These are questions better asked off air.
No, it was a deli packet of roast beef, like about as big as that book, and I just had it in my jacket. Like my jacket had like a seam on the inside for the mesh pocket that also you could put stuff in the top of, and it would hold it. It was almost like a hidden pocket by accident, and so that's how I would smuggle food. I just shoved it down there.
Okay.
No, you chipmunked it, didn't you? You put it right in the pocket in your cheek.
Put the whole thing in my mouth and. I just walked in. Car crew for Wicked, please. No. So I had Amelia put in her purse. I also said, sling your purse so it's behind your back, so it's not even like obvious. Like don't make it a thing. So I walked her through this whole thing, and so yeah, we went, and it was a really cool experience. It was a good crowd. For a while, I thought that maybe the guy behind me was humming the music, but I'm pretty sure it was just the Dolby mix. But for like the first half of the movie, I was like, that guy's got to stop.
Would you
I can't do this. Like, yeah. Anyway, so Wicked.
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? You're green.
Welcome, new students, to Shiz University. Miss Elphaba, you can room with Miss Galinda.
Popular. I know about popular. Oh, I saved you some space, by the way.
Do you really think this is fair?
I do not. I was promised a private suite. But thanks for asking.
Please, everyone take your seats. In today's Oz, a real sorcerer who possesses true magic has become all too rare.
Absolutely remarkable.
That was you who made all that happen. How did you do it?
I don't know. I've never known. You, come with me.
Of course.
Not you. You. You're the one the wizard has been waiting for.
Galinda?
Ew. I know. It's my granny's. I'd give it away, but I don't hate anyone that much.
Hey.
You should join us tonight. And don't tell me you have nothing to wear. Because you could wear this.
Something has changed within me.
She doesn't give a twig what anyone thinks.
Something is not the same.
Of course she does. She just pretends not to.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz summons you to the Emerald City. Come with me.
What?
To meet the wizard.
I couldn't possibly. This is your moment. I'm coming.
The great and terrible.
Something bad is happening in Oz.
The best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
You have no real power.
That's why I need you.
Don't let her get away! This wicked witch.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not afraid. It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
Wicked is directed by John M. Chu, written by Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox, and it is based on the stage play Wicked by Stephen Schwartz, but also, of course, the novel by Gregory Maguire,
Which in turn is based on the novel by Elfric Baum.
Right, exactly. It's a Russian doll, a Russian nesting doll of,
right.
of source material here.
Yes.
And so this is the newest Oz property. And so it stars Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, Bowen Yang, Marissa Bode, Peter Dinklage, Michelle Yeoh, and Jeff Goldblum.
I must admit that since I'm me, I did some research on Cynthia Erivo, and she and I apparently share a birthday.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I think, or unless I misread it, but I think we do.
Let me see.
That's cool.
Nope, you're right.
Wow.
Yep. Okay.
Look at that. That's very serendipitous.
I was gonna say, I wonder if Ariana Grande and I do, and we don't. That would have been even stranger.
That would have been
That would've
at
been
that
weird.
point. Yeah, y'all would just have to do the whole show for me right now.
Yeah. So yeah, the film is it's about the origins basically of Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba Throp, and her frenemy turned her rival turned friend, Galinda Upland, who becomes Glinda the Good Witch, and their time at Shiz Academy, which is the name of their wizard school. Elphaba is like this mistake child. We'll just leave it at that. Kind of an outcast within her own family, an outcast in society, being the only person around who is green. So she is othered a lot and takes good care of her sister who is disabled and is a good daughter to her father, even though her father clearly dislikes her. She's bringing her sister to school and there is an incident at school which results in a teacher saying you should be going here. And so she kind of just gets allowed to go to school there, kind of just on the jump. And this is where she is paired up with Glinda Upland. And Glinda is she's very popular. She's very well-to-do, comes from a well-known family. She's a little bit like Regina Georgie at the school, but she's not mean-spirited. She's just like an it girl. And she is unintentionally rude to Elphaba, just being like, like condescending to her and whatever else. And then they eventually develop this bond throughout the plot. And yeah, that's the general plot that's going on.
So if I can jump in for a second.
Yeah.
So my history with Wicked, in high school, a couple of songs from Wicked were performed at like this musical review that they did. And that was my first exposure to Wicked.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the songs. And since then, I've always wanted to see the stage play, but never enough to actually go and do it.
Right.
So when it was like, oh, there's a movie coming out, I was like, oh, great. Now's my chance to actually see the thing.
Yeah.
I do intend to see it, but I have not. Again, I just haven't made the effort to actually do it. So I do intend to, but feel free with spoilers. Like I know eventually this ends with the Wizard of Oz. So it's not a surprise if you're like, and then she becomes the Wicked Witch. It's like, oh, yep.
Right.
Saw that. I know.
The thing about this one too is like it's a two-parter, right? So like the film ends with Defying Gravity, which is the end of the first act of the play. It's the curtain dropper. Like after Defying Gravity drops, intermission.
Yep.
And I realized after I saw the film, I don't really know anything about this story after Defying Gravity. All the songs I know are in the first act of the play.
Yeah.
There was an early version of me who thought that Defying Gravity was the end of the whole show. And then I of course later learned, but I was telling Amelia when we left the theater, I have no clue how part two, I don't even know what the plot is. Amelia, what did you think of Wicked? What did you think of part one? You seemed like you were enjoying yourself.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Wicked. I liked the songs, but I didn't know too much about the show to where I wasn't like bored. Like I only knew like focal points of but I didn't know much about the characters or how they come together or why. So the experience of the story is fresh to me. Sure. And I think even if even if you've seen the musical or are very well exposed to the songs, you will still get a kick out of seeing obviously a different interpretation. Like these are different actors. It's a new mix of the songs. I think anyone who's seen the musical needs to go into that knowing like, okay, obviously like we're not going to reinvent the wheel here on this, but you're watching, you're going to get what you're coming for. Like if you're coming expecting big grand scale and well-performed songs, you're getting it. I'm not sitting here like, oh, the actors were lackluster on the songs or it felt cheap. Like these are trained singers. I mean, both of them Broadway singers. Ariana Grande is obviously, releases music and stuff, but like they both have sang on Broadway. Like these are quality singers. And it shows. And Ariana Grande has been impressing me lately because not only is she, successful just in her own right, but like her comedic performances, like on SNL, I think that she's, especially if you see her host, you realize like, God, this lady's got a lot of talent and it's really on display here. Like she is like the comic performance in the film. There's physical comedy. There's just a whole lot that she has to do and it's really well done. I was really impressed with her. I think I think she comes out of this looking really good. Cynthia Erivo is amazing. There's something about the way that it's easy in a musical performance to be too broad, even on camera. And I felt like her, and I guess I'll give credit to John Chu for the director as well, but like her performance as Elphaba is very subtle, even within a musical format, you know?
Yeah.
It's perfectly adapted to film. It's not like, oh, it's the stage on camera, and it's not like Les Mis, which I loved, but is too much on camera. Like it's, you know, we're taking gigantic pauses for dramatic breaths during songs. Like I love it, but that wouldn't have worked for Wicked. I wouldn't have wanted that exact same style for Wicked. Yeah. You want to be able to go with song momentum. So that's a different choice than Tom Hooper made, but it works for this, and it worked for Les Mis too.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, you're right. There's two ways to adapt a Broadway musical. You either do it like Broadway on film, or you do it like a film that is adapting a musical.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to hear they did it the other way around, because for me, I would be coming at it not having read the book, not having any of that knowledge. I haven't seen the stage play. I would be coming at it comparing it to The Wizard of Oz, which is a film with music. So the fact that they can carry over that style, this is a film with music, I think would help it feel just like it leads right into.
Like I'm struggling to find like examples to contrast it with, but like there's always times in adaptations where I'm looking at like a cut where I can tell like, oh, it's still, I can tell where the audio is coming from on like the editing timeline. Like, okay, it's clearly not from this wide because the lip flaps aren't matching, like stuff like that on a technical level. But I was watching for it, and this is a really tightly done film. That attention to detail is there.
I'm really curious about the music in this, because from what I understand, they sang live on set.
Yep.
And they all had in-ear monitors for the music, but they were just capturing their vocals raw on set. Now, I'm not going to put too much stock in that, because obviously in the edit process, things get sweetened, and you're still picking and taking it like from the best takes. You know, you're not. It isn't a straight through camera on sticks watching this thing happen.
Right.
They're still picking and choosing their moments. So it doesn't mean a whole lot, but it does mean something. I mean, it doesn't mean nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know like intuitively, like obviously there's the post-production safety net, you know?
Yes.
But I also know that like microphones are really good now.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed when I like see the mics they're using to like record in like the Pixar booths, and it's not even like a booth. It's just a big room, and this ridiculous microphone is right there. I've seen people do interviews with like those boom mics that are like, that looks like a giant bee's nest hanging off the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And those are super sensitive. So I've got to imagine like they had one of those and then like 3 different lav mics pointed at them for every take. But but who knows? Like it obviously, anytime there's a cut, like, okay, well then that music came from somewhere. It either came from this shot, or it came from an alternate shot, or they did it, whatever. There's got to be some consistency to the tempo. And it's not like Tom Hooper's, where it's like, hey, when you're singing this song, take as long of a break as you want between lyrics. It's fine. Yeah. Because then it's like, hey, are you going to finish the song? Like, I got to pee.
Sure. Right.
But I don't know how they did it, but it whatever process they used, it works, because it's natural, it's emotive, but it's not a momentum killer. There's like small moments where the actors play with delivery on the lyrics, but it's pretty, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like it's like it's seldom used. At least the way I observed it. So I think you're going to get what you're expecting here. If you're not into musicals at all, I don't know why you're even listening to this review. If you are wondering if Wicked will somehow appeal to you, it won't. You don't like it.
Right.
You hate what it is and stands for.
Yes.
But if you are like, oh, I love Wicked. Should I see Wicked? Yes.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, we came out of the theater and I told Amelia, I have no clue how part 2 is supposed to go. Don't know anything about it. So Amelia said she did some Googling and knows a little bit about the story. you know some?
Yes. They said it was gonna like involve some mentions of Dorothy, but like I don't think that they don't think Dorothy's gonna be in the in part 2.
I don't know why she would be.
And anyways, there's also gonna be events like leading up to like the Wizard of Oz. So it's like it involves give me a second. It involves Nessa Rose stealing the Grimmery from her sister and making Bach fall in love with her, and then Elphaba turns her into the Tin Man to save his life, and like all that stuff.
It was a bad time for a bite there, Uber.
I took a gigantic bite of the rest of my pie at the beginning of that very short sentence.
This better be worth it. Whatever you're about to say, it better be the best thing you've ever said.
Okay, so it sounds like the part 2 is going to deal with, we're going to creep up to how certain characters got to Oz, not just how the Wicked Witch is created, but who is the Tin Man and who, you know.
Right. So this is always one of my things, because like I knew that's part of the show is, you know, getting everything to the Wizard of Oz. My thought is the Wizard of Oz, the book, is very different from the movie. So I love the movie. The movie says that all of Dorothy's time in Oz is a dream. The Oz does not literally exist, but it's a dream. So that's why they all look like her uncles, and why, you know, the Wicked Witch looks like the
person who stole her dog.
Yes, correct. So like all of these characters are played by the same actors because she's been knocked unconscious by a house falling on her or whatever. And so she's now like dreaming this world where she is able to get things for the people around her that, you know, they need, right? Like this guy needs the courage, right? So it's like set in this weird thing, but Oz does not literally exist. So when I began to look more into what Wicked was, I initially was off put by it because I'm like, but it's a dream. And that's when I found out that, but actually in the original story, Oz is a literal place like Narnia. You know, the Pevensey kids go to Narnia. It's a literal place. And so Oz is that same way. So this story dovetails into the book version of Oz, not into the movie version of the Wizard of Oz.
This is like some Shining Dr. Sleep stuff. It's like we're going to make some changes, and then everyone, the culture at large is going to accept that version of the story. Yes. And then they're going to write sequels that build off of the book. And then that's going to get popular. And once it's time to make a movie, it's like, oh no, what do we follow?
Yes, exactly. So I'm imagining like there are probably some things that I don't know because I'm of the mindset that like these characters aren't real, that there is no actual scarecrow. It's a dream. But like obviously in the story of Wicked, there is a legitimate scarecrow, like that's an actual person who lives and breathes in the land of Oz. So I don't know. I've always had like such an interest in it because when I was a kid, I don't know if I've even told you this, Uber. When I was a kid, I loved The Wizard of Oz. Like when in the 90s, they played it on TBS like weekly. Like it was just like always on TV, and I watched it 8 million times.
I saw it a couple times. I don't remember how. I don't think it was on TBS. I think maybe we rented it at Blockbuster or something.
Daddy, I remember you once watched it with me and Noah. That was my very first time watching it.
Yeah, I mean like when I was a kid though. Like that's like and because I was the witch terrified me. I was afraid of her.
She's not that scary. She's just a witch with a fake cackle.
Yeah, but
the fake cackle and those like fake legs that roll up under the.
Oh yeah, that did kind of creep me out.
That is scary.
Yeah,
That's
it's a little weird.
Yeah.
When because I loved it so much when I was a kid, like I don't know how old I would have been at this point, but like elementary school at some point, like my parents took my brother and I to see The Wizard of Oz on ice. They had like an ice capades version of it, and so. We saw like the production on stage on ice, and it was really cool. So like The Wizard of Oz is burned into my brain. Yeah. So there's a part of me that wants to reject anything that doesn't line up with the movie, but I'm gonna turn that part off of my brain.
Yeah. I mean, because it seems like the canon itself is different. Yeah.
It's different. It goes to the book.
I didn't even think about that. Like until you said that, though, it didn't even occur to me as like an adult man who studies and knows film. I completely wasn't even thinking about that. So I wonder like how much of the general population
is aware.
How long has it been since they've seen Wizard of Oz and even remember that it's a dream, you know?
At this point, I feel like people don't watch The Wizard of Oz. They just know it. Like they
cultural
are born
osmosis,
knowing The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
That's how things go with
the movie's almost 100 years old.
Yeah.
80 something.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Like in 39 or something?
Like 39, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Victor Fleming is the director.
85.
He directed Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind at the same time.
What? The same time?
I think they were both released in 1939.
Oh my God.
It's like two of the biggest movies in cinema history. In the same year from the same guy.
The same guy. And then he died.
Yes.
Then he dropped dead.
At some point.
Sure.
I'm double checking my facts here.
He certainly is dead.
That is correct. He's definitely passed on. In fact, he died in 1949.
Okay.
That dude was born in 1889.
He was drowning and he drowned in a big pile of money.
How old would he have been when he died?
1889, you said?
Yeah. So he died in...
If he died in 49, then he was like
59 years old.
Something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's pretty good. Pretty good for those days.
Pretty good for those days.
I was going to say, that's not that bad.
But the idea that we're still talking about a movie that was directed by a guy that was born in the 1800s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has some legs.
It has legs. These kind of legs.
Part of me's over there.
Part of me's over here. Part of me's over here.
Yeah.
How about a little fire, Scarecrow? Yeah, so I definitely recommend Wicked to the general audience. Again, unless you hate musicals.
I don't hate.
What about you, Amelia? Do you recommend Wicked?
I do recommend Wicked. It's just I don't hate musicals, but I don't love musicals.
You seem like you love this one.
I did. It's Wicked.
Okay, well, what do you mean?
Like High School Musical. Like musicals to me are a bit cheesy, but like I love the music and all.
Well, they're cheesy if they're terrible films. Yeah.
High School Musical is a terrible film and it's cheesy.
I disagree. But
the cheesy part or it being a terrible movie.
There's a way that a musical gets like tiered. Like it's depending on who it's made for and what they're going for, it can be extremely like not serious in its presentation. And that's when it comes off cheesy. That's when you get like just Broadway on camera without much adaptation because it's just, we're just going to sing and dance. And the excuse is always, oh, it's very old Hollywoodish. And then to me, that's always like, we're being lazy. We don't want to actually make cinematic choices. We want to have nice, even lighting and big, wide shots and lots of dancers and shoot from one angle because that's what all these actors already know how to do. And the studio just wants us to poop out this movie. And, and with things like Les Mis and Wicked, and even Cats, which is a god awful movie, but least
Taylor Swift was in it.
But at least Cats made choices like we're gonna.
Taylor Swift was in Cats.
Yes, she was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, she has like 3 bajillion cats.
How embarrassing. So at least those are making some kind of choice that you can only do on camera, whether it's the use of like CG or set extensions, or in the case of Cats, like full blown like body modifications, or scale set work, so they look like cat-sized cats. Yeah, I mean, it's just even just in the beginning of Les Mis, just Valjean pulling the ship. When you watch that on stage, he's just pulling a rope.
Yeah, right.
You just have to pretend there's a ship off stage.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. If you think too much about it, it's completely pointless.
Hold on,
these poor prisoners, they're just pulling on ropes. It's just not even doing anything.
When was Les Mis made?
The film?
Whenever it was like first shown.
See, this is another nesting doll. Les Mis is a film that is based, that's, by the way, it's like the 3rd film adaptation that's based on a musical that's based on a book by Victor Hugo that was written in like the 1800s.
Yep.
Oh, so when was the film?
This film was 2012.
I don't think that I don't think I ever talked about this on the show. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. A good example of a more recent musical from Hollywood that was big, high budgeted was West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. And very good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should see it.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. There was also In the Heights that was directed by John M. Chu, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. So there you go. Of course, Hamilton was like the biggest thing, but you know, the only version of that exists on film is Broadway. Is the
stage? Yeah, it's a filmed Broadway performance.
Yeah,
it's like a concert movie, basically.
Yeah, but did big numbers for Disney Plus when it dropped.
Well, yeah, I mean, but but like production wise, there's no difference between that and the Eras Tour movie. You know, same thing.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is a film. I mean, this is a worthy adaptation, and it is unlike the other things. It's not like, oh, it's just actors singing and dancing. It's emotion, it's story, it's dialogue, it's the whole thing. There's a storyline in this film that I was actually really invested in. There's a whole, I mean, it's really the A plot, but but it is like B plot in its prominence. It's just sort of happening, but it's not like, you know, like the animals in Oz are being gradually marginalized. Like their professor is a goat. Peter Dinklage's voice is a goat, and he wears like a little goat suit, and he's like teaching them stuff. And like,
okay, sure.
But then like there's like someone writes this like, you know, like this racist like scrawl on like his board, like he pulls the thing down. It says something like, go back to it doesn't say this, but it's basically like, go back to the barnyard, something like, you know, like, you know, bigoted for Oz. And he's like, who did this? And it's taken extremely seriously. And like, and Alpha finds out that the animals are like meeting in secret. Like, what do we do about this? And it's like, well, I heard such and such lost his job. And it's like, some of us are losing our ability to speak. And so she gets involved, and she's like, why aren't we doing anything about this? The whole reason she goes to Oz is to address this problem. Like, what's the wizard? Can the wizard do something about it? Like, maybe I can, you know, and so it's all centered around Elphaba's like, you know, sense of justice. And because she feels othered, she's like the only person who like looks at this and goes, guys, this is terrible. Why aren't we doing something about this? And why aren't we helping? And you know, these are people, these are our neighbors, our friends, you know, and it's very like, it was like very Red Scary in a way. Like at some point, like they just dismiss one of the teachers, and he's like, I won't be silent. And they like tie him up and bag him right there in front of the students. And it was like actually scary. I was like, oh my God. I think I verbally in the theater was like, whoa. Like I was like, hey, like it like elicited that kind of like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just trying to have a good time here. It
was just like, hey, he surrendered. You know what I mean? Like it was just one of those I felt all of a sudden like I was in a crowd of people, and we all had our phones out filming this happen. Like, hey, like yo, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
So like so the social commentary in the film is taken very seriously, and that's part of what makes it so good for me. Is there's like an actual story and relatable themes in this. It's not just me go be bad witch now and sing. It's there's deep themes about propaganda and scapegoating, and
pun.
I was gonna go, but I ran out of air. Yeah, but like there's stuff here. It's good stuff. So that's Wicked. Me go be bad witch now.